Are you willing to accept Christ's invitation to know Him more intimately, love Him more intensely, and follow Him more closely, and then go out into the world and live His good news? If you say yes, then you could be the 13th apostle. Join Dan Duddy and Tom Caffrey, the odd couple of Catholic radio, as they ride the radio waves 2 by 2 to share the goodness, beauty, and truth of Jesus Christ and His church. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the 13th apostle.
To touch the hearts of your pupils and to inspire them with the Christian spirit is the greatest miracle you can perform. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, to the 13th apostle. We explore the good, beautiful, and true of the Catholic faith, the Catholic Church, and that includes Catholic education. This is Tom Caffrey with my partner, Dan Duddy. How you, Dan?
Hey, Tom. How you doing? Okay?
Okay is the right word.
Yeah.
Covers a lot.
Yeah. Same here.
I think about the many stories in the news. I haven't heard them recently or read about them recently, but they were probably in the 90s, in the early 2000s, or what are known as the aughts, that you didn't get the right answer, but you got credit because you were working hard at it. You meant to get the right answer. You may have been off by a mile, but you weren't off by 2 miles.
Ooh.
So you get credit.
Yeah.
And then, fast forward, that continues 20, 30 years later, a bridge collapses because that person who was not 2 miles off the wrong answer, only 1 mile off the right answer, was part of the design team of a bridge, or
Yeah.
making medication, researching for medications and whatnot. So, the point I'm making, obviously, is that was part of the self-esteem movement that started in the 1960s, really in earnest. We got into it in the 70s. You and I were part of that. I did not experience any of that when I was in Catholic elementary school for 8 years, but I did experience some of that when I went to public school for high school.
Mm.
And there was enough criticism of that I hope it seems like it's much less. And I think in part because of a look at test results, standardized testing. I don't mean necessarily SATs, but competitive testing, let's say among nations, or let's say the nation's report card, uh, which we'll talk about a little bit. So that the quote that I mentioned before the opening is from John Baptiste de La Salle, patron saint of teachers. And, again, to inspire students with the Christian spirit, that's the greatest miracle you can perform. But part of that Christian spirit is that, and encouraging students, is to get them to the truth.
Mm-hmm.
The great, all the work. It's like I think it was my daughter had a sweatshirt. Maureen had a sweatshirt. I think it was hers and not Kevin's, showing an image of a kid at a chalkboard. And it's a convoluted mathematical formula.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a part where he says, and then a miracle occurred. And somehow he came up to the right answer. That wasn't his doing for the right answer. So we're looking for not just, I think we'd say beauty. Part of beauty is truth. They all go together. The good, the beautiful, and true. Incorrect answers are not good. They're not beautiful. And they're obviously not true.
Mm-hmm.
And Catholic education is still highly regarded and sought after, including by many non-Catholics. So what's your thinking so far, Danny?
Well, firstly, I want to just let the audience know that's a 18-month-old baby boy that you might be hearing in the background. He's having a rough night, which is rare for him, if you hear it. So, getting back to our Catholic schools, I think as long as Catholic schools hold their posture, which is always pretty much that baseline will slide, and it is sliding. But relative to the rest of our school system and the culture that we are in, I believe that Catholic schools are holding that baseline pretty strongly. Their posture.
What do you mean by posture?
Well, who they are, what we have been, and not to bend too much toward the, say, the woke culture, which is happening. Some of our Catholic schools will bend in accordance to, well, the population that they're getting. That has a lot to do with how the Catholic schools operate as well. So, for example, I'm in a particular high school where we're getting a good, solid, tough population of kids coming from a combination of inner city, rough suburbs, and suburban America with some pretty good socioeconomic level to it as far as prosperity goes and success goes, business success. So it's a pretty wide range, and it's eclectic. It's diverse. We are doing a pretty good job in the school of holding our own. Although today was the first day of school, I teach theology to freshmen, and this year's freshman class is pretty different than last year's freshman class in that it's, shall I say, more diverse in all of those areas. It's pretty evident that socioeconomically we are more diverse. We have several Chinese students also this year, which is the extreme as far as diversity goes because they come directly from China.
Are they Catholic?
No, they're not Catholic. And that's also where I was going to this too. The Catholic head count today, as I took it, who's Catholic, raise your hand, who's baptized Catholic. I get right after so I know who I'm teaching, is today was 50-50. And
Hmm.
those that are Catholic, I had, so we'll say 15 kids, because one of my classes, is 31, comprised of 31 students. Half of them are going to Mass. And I boldly ask that too. So we have like 7 Catholics who are going to Mass. And I don't know how true the 7 really is too. I think it's difficult to not raise a hand when you're sitting in the class. So I'm going to say five of them probably go to church. Whereas last year it was different. Last year those numbers were a little bit more hopeful and they were more positive. But the freshman class has upwards of 100 more students than last year. So you feel there's a trend here. I mean, you see, and I think you feel that there's a trend here that the Catholic schools are getting more and more students, but I think it's fair to say that they're getting the students for different reasons. I think our Catholic schools are becoming choice schools for our non-Catholic population because of the different things that are afforded to them with regards to athleticism, facilities, athletic, programs, facilities, and academics. There's a high, not only a high graduation rate, but there's a high college acceptance rate that continues to come from our Catholic schools. What I hope and I pray for, though, that's posture, that's staying strongly, and that might even be getting stronger. But what I continue to pray and hope for, because I am concerned about, are we holding our posture with regards to teaching the faith? Are we stepping toward it? Are we really, demanding it? Catholic identity. You see, when you're 50-50 with Catholic students, with only 2% of them actually going to Mass, and the other 50 are either no religion or they're Indian, you really got to step up to Catholic identity, or you're going to be attacked and compromised with regards to Catholic identity because your school is also a business. And our Catholic schools are getting boarded up in several areas, geographical areas like Boston. But by the same token, in my school, the population is growing. So I don't know where to hang my hat on this, Tom. Today was first day, but it's definitely a change that happened over the summer. I'm talking like 60 days ago, things were different. Where's it going? All right, so as a man who's on a mission or commissioned, like you are, you teach RCIA, and here I am in a Catholic school, I have more students that I could really get after and evangelize. That's the bottom line. But what's driving it? What's driving this change in the demographics? It's interesting and remains to be seen.
Well, I mean, according to the data, the research that's been done, it's certainly for the reasons you mentioned and more. I mean, there's parents send their children to Catholic schools for the discipline, in addition to the higher educational performance standard. And in just the last statistic I was able to see in the 2022 to 2023 school year, 22% of enrolled students in U.S. Catholic elementary and secondary schools, so elementary and high school, were non-Catholic, 22% non-Catholic compared to 2.7% in 1970. So that's a factor of a number of things. Family sizes are much smaller, and you have smaller families. Also, you have smaller or no religious sisters and priests or monks, brothers who they were free.
Mm,
They,
yeah,
they didn't get a salary for teaching. They living in their convent, they were living in the rectory, a monastery, a friary, whatever. So that when you and I were you went to a Catholic elementary school, right?
I did. Yeah, 8 years. Mhm.
Okay. So, we're of that time when that was we'll call it the golden era of Catholic education because we're in the midst of the baby boom and we were in a very Catholic culture. Everything is different today, hopefully, except, as you said, the posture of Catholic schools. And that is a problem if it's a problem in one Catholic school, it's one too many. Now, this is interesting because you told, for example, the Chinese students that are from China. I've read stories where Catholic schools are welcoming Jewish students, many, as a matter of fact. To accommodate these students, they've made, let's say, kosher kitchen, and they allow certain areas that are geared to those of the Jewish faith.
Mm,
That would be in that group where, let's say, Pope Francis was against what he called proselytizing, as opposed to, I got the impression that he was saying, okay, well, he was conflating, putting them both together, evangelizing and proselytizing. And I don't know whether that was, he was thinking, well, it depends on where your heart is. Are you denigrating what they were and where they are, who they are, and you want to get them at all costs, you want to get them to come into the Catholic Church? Okay, we can say that's proselytizing as opposed to evangelizing. You want to draw people into the faith. We don't want to convert by the sword.
mhm.
No, we don't want to force people for a variety of reasons. I mean, some of them are obvious, maybe some are not so obvious. But let's say your Chinese students are Confucius or Buddhist, and they want a Buddhist, statue of Buddha, and they want a little shrine in there. We want to accommodate them because we're going to get their dough. This is where you got to be careful. Where are you? There are many schools. You can quick search of legitimate websites to see numerous Catholic schools that are 50, 60, 70% non-Catholic students.
True. That's where we're heading. That's where my school's heading. It keeps the school afloat, but are we selling our soul?
Well, hopefully we do it hopefully your school and every Catholic school will maintain, as you said, their posture, their Catholic posture, and they do that. And this is part of the deal. It's like you want to play in the Masters golf tournament, you can't bring a tennis racket, even though you say I can hit the ball further with a tennis racket.
True.
This is what's required.
Yeah.
The Catholic schools should keep their Catholic identity and they should adhere to the mandatum from Pope John Paul II,
Yeah.
which is saying Catholic schools, and he was emphasizing Catholic universities, colleges, and universities, you have to teach to the magisterium of the church.
True. Yeah.
And you have to sign a document.
True. My brother-in-law, a priest, always said, if you want to know the state of the Catholic Church or where the Catholic Church is at the moment, it's where our bishops are, where they are, the church is. And we know that fundamentally. That's true of the Catholic Church. In the Catholic schools, I think it's a little bit more simple. The Catholic school is where the campus ministry is. And in our school, it's made up of one guy. We have a campus minister, and we have a priest chaplain who his parish is right on the other side of the football field fence. And we have 4 members of the theology department. And they have become, for the most part, dear friends of mine. We are, just us 4 are in complete control of the intensity, the direction, and the desire of where we're going to go theologically with our students. And we can't let the tail wag the dog. Whoever comes into our class when we close the doors on those 4 walls is going to become evangelized, or we're going to attempt to evangelize whoever they are. and whatever their background is. But of course, we have to meet them where they are, but we have to bring them to the truth. I had a parent last year email me and said, Johnny is Jewish. He's very confused in your class with regards to Catholicism. And I told him that your class is not a theology class so much as it is a religion class, that I am there to teach him the facts of Catholicism, about the church and so forth. And I said, no, that's not why I was hired. And she let it go. And as she didn't bounce back. She didn't like write a letter to the principal or anything like that, because in the mission statement of the school it states otherwise. It states what I said. So that worked out extremely well.
She was saying, excuse me, she was saying that you're not there to evangelize, you're there to teach the facts of, like, I don't know, Catholic history and
Yeah, yep. In
teachings
the
of the
same way
church.
you would study, another faith
Hmm.
for the sake of information. And I said, no, that's not how my class operates. So here's the thing. I had 31 students in one of my classes today, and I said, how many of you are athletes? And I regretted it as soon as I said it, because I thought I may have been leaving, say, 5 students out, maybe 8 students out of raising their hands, because it's a pretty heavily inundated athletic school. 31 hands flew up, and they're all fall athletes. That's what's going on in the Catholic schools in New Jersey. The Catholic schools that are thriving in New Jersey, and it's kind of like, is it the chicken or the egg, are thriving because of their prowess in athletics. And there's a positive momentum happening in particular schools, and those schools that have a negative momentum are literally boarding up the windows and doors of their school because they can't stay with those that are becoming more powerful athletically. So our Catholic schools are becoming foundationally loaded with aspiring athletes that are looking to go on to college to get, which is now called NIL. You know what that means? It's
Yeah.
yeah, it's really getting kind of
Tell our
ugly.
tell our tell our friends in the audience.
Oh, what's it called? Name, gosh, I forget what the acronym is, but it's
Image
college
and like
athlete. What's that?
name, image, and likeness, right?
Yeah, thank you, Tom. Name, image, and likeness. Whereas they have the rights to the great deals of
But
monies.
not wait, not the image and likeness of God. Let's be clear what we're
Oh,
talking about.
that's a really good point right there. That is a really good point right there. I can actually take that what you just said right there and immediately make a really, really huge lesson out of that for our athletes in our building. I'm stunned by it. What you just said. That's something that can absolutely be developed positively. And in fact, I just got a phone call today from Ray McKenna, the founder of the Catholic Athletes for Christ, who wants to get me a little bit back more involved in CAC. And that right what you said right there is a powerful, powerful lesson. It's the foundation of a really good talk. Yeah, so we're loaded up with a lot of athletes. The NIL concept, where these athletes are coming out of college now, multimillionaires, $12 million in the bank before they even get drafted. They're coming out of Catholic high schools. Tom, I guarantee you that there is a high school version of NIL money being slipped under the table to our high school athletes to come to particular schools
Mm.
under the Catholic banner. Under the Catholic banner. 31 students in my freshman theology class raised their hands with excitement when I asked how many athletes were in my room. And they knew exactly why they were there, why they came there, what sports they were playing. Yeah.
You didn't have 31. So, but you made it clear earlier you didn't have 31 hands shoot up enthusiastically
Oh,
about.
no, 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 no. No, they went up with peer pressure, like timidity,
Yes.
Another good point. Yeah, so that's where we're at. We could talk about alternatives for our true blue, really want to get it done Catholic families like homeschooling, but that's a little bit of an extreme decision, especially in the United States of America, because we're so sports orientated, and our homeschoolers really don't get those advantages. They don't get those options.
I mean, it hasn't taken off, and I don't see it taking off for a variety of reasons. That's hard to do, and you got to have a parent who's staying home, and that's
Yeah, you gotta have,
pretty
yeah,
unlikely.
yeah,
So everything is related. You have certainly in the state of New Jersey, it used to be able to buy a starter home, maybe spend 30 or 40,000, you fix it up, okay, and you stay there for a number of years or many years, and maybe you add on to it. But one parent, usually the mother, she could stay home. at least for while the children were in their early years, and then she could go into the workforce. But it's almost impossible to find a starter home in New Jersey, and the builders build them really big, and so the mortgage payments are high, and you need two incomes, and it's this just chain reaction to the consequences of, well, the high cost of living. And so to be able to afford to go to a Catholic school, I mean, a lot of people took their, certainly around COVID, it was happening before COVID, but certainly in COVID, a lot of Catholic schools lost students, and a lot of them didn't go back.
Yeah, they
Um,
didn't go back, and yeah, I think that's part of the reason why we have a little bit of an uptick. It's not so much because Catholic schools are so much in an uptick, it's just because they're recovering from COVID, and they're starting to come back to their natural ground. But there are some pros to true Catholics when it comes to homeschooling. I spoke to Mark, our mutual friend Mark Hauk, about homeschooling, and he's pleased with it. He's just had his eighth child, and they've homeschooled. Young Mark, who is child number one of the eight, is playing public school, high school football, which he's able to do as a homeschooler. And I think in the state of Pennsylvania they have those. You have the abilities to do that, but as Mark says, it protects the sacred deposit, and that's everything we know about Catholicism, and it keeps it intact under your own roof. But let me just say this about under your own roof. Homeschooling is not so much under your roof with the door closed and eight children sitting around the dining room table. They rotate a lot and into different homes. There could be upwards of 30 children depending on your homeschooling community in a particular home. So they're actually in a school, but they're in a school where they have loving parents around them all the time. So the parents are fostering it, and the children are learning how to become even more honorable to their parents all day long because they're in the school setting. But they're not just confined to their homes these days. They're starting to create homeschool communities. There's a lot of alternative forms of education, where they take field trips and daily trips that you can't do in a public school or a Catholic high school because of funding situations. So there's life lessons that happen outside of the homes too, which gives a whole lot more flexibility.
Wherever you have a Catholic school, the church teaches you need five essential, what the church calls marks of Catholic education. And these are: one, it's got to be inspired by a supernatural vision.
Hmm.
The second one is it's got to be founded on a Christian anthropology. And what that means is that it's it's humanity finding itself and developing itself in relation to God. It's the Christian anthropology is the relationship of humanity to God.
Hmm.
The third one is it's got to be animated by communion and community. And that's obviously not just the lowercase c communion, but Holy Communion. So the sacraments, that's part of the communion and community. The fourth one is it's got to be imbued, it's got to be saturated with a Catholic worldview throughout its curriculum.
Hmm.
And the fifth and final one is it's got to be sustained by gospel witness. And that last one, it really goes to the Jewish parent of your student.
Yes.
It's got to be, it's sustained by gospel witness. You are giving witness, right? We talked about it many times on and off the air. Whatever we do, as long as it's good, it's our prayer to God. It's you
Yeah.
wake up in the morning, Lord, how can I help you build your kingdom on earth
Hmm.
as it is in heaven? What am I
Yeah.
going to do?
Yeah.
I mean, that's you're sometimes most people are not in the circumstance situation that you're in. Most people are not teaching RCIA. You could be doing anything, but
Yeah.
obviously, if you're offering it up as a way to glory God, because you are made in the image and likeness of God, that's your biggest challenge, Dan, with these young people to say, I know what you think NIL means,
Yeah.
but let me tell you about something else. First of all, you are in a Catholic school.
Yeah, man. I'm going to be speaking to our football program at my school probably next week, and I'm going to go right to that. That's so simple and pure, that NIL concept. Yeah, good one. Our Catholic identity really does attract people who really honor the virtue of standing strong for who you are. You know, if we come to hold back on our Catholic identity because of the population that we're getting, as opposed to holding on to our Catholic identity so the population that we're getting can see strength and this is who we are, and we want you to really come in here and know who we are, that's when things are really going to grow. And that's when we're going to get the people that really want to come in, that have the strength and the desire for the virtues in their children to stand up for who they are based on the truth of their very own creation. And that's what we're looking for, and that's what they're going to get in my theology class. I'm not going to bend. I am not going to fold. Ain't going to happen.
That's an impossible image to have. So you're folding.
Yeah. You too. You too. Yeah.
Now
I wanted to get to your RCIA experiences, but we're going to have to wait on that. Maybe we could talk about that another time.
yeah, but the difference is they're coming specifically. They want to enter the church.
Absolutely.
They've
Yep.
been outside,
Mhm.
maybe looking in, maybe not. Well, yeah, they were looking in. They liked what they saw and experienced.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah.
It is beautiful. So uh, it's not so much evangelizing for them. It is having them really understand what are you getting into? Why is this important?
Hmm.
How do you stay with it? Let's help you find these treasures in this beautiful thing we call Catholicism.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. How do you stay with it? That's huge. That's important. And they're blessed to have you. They're blessed to have you, Tom. Doing great work.
And I told them, and I think I know I told you, but I don't know whether it was on the air. Converts to Catholicism are like converts to the United States of America.
Mm.
These new citizens, they know more about the history of the United States of America than way too many native-born Americans. And so these people they know their intention to go into a year's program, to learn about the Catholic faith and to live it, or yes, to live it toward becoming Catholic. But they start the training. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
It's like anything, you train, and then if you make it, then you can call yourself that thing.
Yeah. Amen. What's the age of your students, Tom?
19 and 20.
Mm.
And that's where they all are, right around that 19, 20, 21. So, all right, we got to wrap it up.
School has begun. Let's go. Okay. Let's stay tuned, folks, for the Angelus and your prayer intentions with Peter and Jemmy.
WQPHradio.org. Listen, I know we have some new listeners out there. I know from personal experience, we got a new friend, Dennis, and I'm hoping we can get him on the air. I have at least
Greg.
two of us. Pardon me?
Greg. I got a buddy named Greg who's running a great men's group in
Okay.
North Jersey, Baskin Ridge. Greg.
Got Greg, and we got at least two of my students. They were asking about the radio program, and I'm sure we're going to have them on the air. So I know they're listening.
yeah.
And we've got other people that I know that are listening. Well, they know me, and they know they're getting to know you. They know of you. Okay. They haven't met you. Love you, Danny. God bless everybody. Thank you for your support. WQPHradio.org. Let's go.
Let's go. God bless you all.
Thank you for listening to the 13th Apostle with Dan Duddy and Tom Caffrey. For more information on Dan, visit his website at www.danduddy.com or email dcduddy@gmail.com. Tom's website is faithpilgrims.com or email trcaffrey@faithpilgrims.com. How about you? Will you be the 13th Apostle?